I built 5 businesses, I had goals that I used to dream about, yet I still fell off because I was chasing something that was not for me. It was something that society imposed on me, and it wasn't truly aligned with who I was or what did I actually want from life. So this is the truth that I wish I heard sooner. Let's go. So the first trap I'd say is a success without meaning. So society sells you a plan, it sells you a script on how to get what you want or what the society kind of places high in the hierarchy. So let's say this would be a good income, that you can support your family and yourself. You have a steady 9 to 5 job. You're essentially a cog in a machine. So society sells you a script. First you go to school, you go to university, then you go work for a company, and then you climb up in the hierarchy. Maybe you switch jobs to get higher pay and negotiate your terms. But this is not for everyone, and I don't think you should necessarily accept this with the face value. I encourage you to think about what do you actually want, and then follow that kind of train of thought. I followed first the society's way of doing things. I went to school, I went to university, and I was just miserable. And this was up until I started to follow my internal voice and, start to listen to what is it that I want instead of listening to my parents or listening to, what the society was telling me. And frankly, YouTube and different authorities here were a big part in my journey. So I guess I hope to be one in yours. Once I started listening to my own internal voice, my life started to shift, towards more happy, joyful, fulfilled life. But it does come with a lag, and it is all about letting go of the old version of you and morphing into this new version of you. And that's something that doesn't, happen overnight. So be gentle and be patient with yourself. But essentially, without clarity, you're gonna build a life that was meant for someone else, and obviously we don't want that. The real question is, what are you building for? Let's say you want freedom. What does that mean for you? Is this location freedom? Is this monetary freedom? Is this freedom of choice in terms of not having a boss that's telling you what to do? Maybe it's all of them, and maybe it's something else. I'd encourage you to kind of define freedom for you. And once you've defined it, it's much easier to actually fulfill that need, let's say. A lot of my friends, for example, they have monetary freedom, they have freedom of choice, but they don't have location freedom, for example. And that's something that they didn't think about before they actually built the life. And now they're like, okay, how do I actually get rid of my office and do a full remote culture or something like that? So it's extremely important to know what you want. What does it actually mean? Quantify that, and then start building it. Another great exercise is to actually define, what does an ideal day for you look like? When do you wake up? What do you do? What kind of interactions do you have? And what kind of feelings do you want to feel? And quantifying this perfect day also helps you to align your life and your business or your journey towards that. And I'm not saying everyone needs to be entrepreneurs, but I think it's really important to know what you want and then start working towards that. Because again, without clarity and without intention, you are building a life that looks good but feels wrong, and we're all about feelings here. So I haven't had a job in a corporation or actually something that I wanted to do, so I'm not gonna advise you on that. But if you want to start your own company, here's what I would think about beforehand. Well, obviously you need to solve a problem. There's so many problems there. It can be something that you encountered. If you're a digitally native person, so let's say you're born in the 90s or 2000s, I think it's a good idea to look at a digital problem, since there's gonna be a much smaller group of people who understand those problems at an in-depth level. So let's say you're super young, you're a very native TikTok user, and you didn't see certain type of content in TikTok, or let's say the TikTok market isn't working in a way that it's supposed to, or you see companies not knowing how to leverage TikTok that well, maybe you can start a business around that. Anyways, all this goes to say that there's an infinite amount of problems. I would suggest you to look at something that you're interested in and you're already kind of have some sort of advantage on, and then leverage that and make it a business. Great, now you have a business idea, you know what problem you want to solve. Then instead of building a website and registering the company and doing all of these things, I would say contact 100 people from that area and try to pitch your service to them, or try to pitch your product to them, even if it doesn't exist yet. But this is just for you to get some sort of idea if this actually is something that the market actually needs or wants, or if it's just something that there isn't really demand for. And if there's no demand, that's great. Then you just tweak the idea and do this over and over again until you actually get some traction. Then start small. Don't make it too big of a thing to kind of overcome. I think doing one step at a time is the only way to get towards your goals. It's easily super overwhelming if you're looking at, okay, I'm here, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I want to build this big enterprise or this big company or something like that, and you don't see kind of how you bridge that gap. That's all right. Everyone feels that. Even I feel that right now with most of the things that I'm doing, but I am still focusing on taking the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step, only one step at a time, and just trust the process. And again, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're seeking clarity, if you want to understand yourself a bit better, if you want to understand the market a bit better, please use ChatGPT or Claude or AI. It's such a huge leverage that most people aren't using. So don't try to build an empire in a weekend. Build trust, deliver, let the momentum compound, and that's it. And then build for the right kind of success. Please define what success looks like, define what are your values, and don't get blinded by the lights, blinded by the luxurious things, blinded by someone else's nice business. I think one of the things that I definitely struggled with, and one of the things that people at a very high level still struggle with, is shiny object syndrome. So for example, when AI came, everyone was suddenly changing their business models to AI. Well, granted, that was a good idea for most of the people probably, but I think it's so easy to see this shiny object and go after that. But in reality, whatever it is that you do, it's gonna require a lot of work and consistency to get that traction. So don't fall for the shiny objects, and just stay consistent with what you pick once you've gotten that traction, and let the momentum compound. All big things in life work with compound effects. So this applies to business, this applies to personal development, this applies to relationships, this applies to knowledge. So compound effect is the single most powerful thing that there is in this world. So let that work for you instead of against you. Don't switch the business model all the time. So again, success isn't about money. It's about if your business or if your life actually reflects who you truly are. So start with purpose, build from your heart, and let it compound.